Good morning. And as we have heard from Dr. Garg, of course, on a nice Sunday like this, the attendance is a little scanty, but uh, nonetheless, I'm really thankful to the organizers, to Dr. Anil Garg, to Mr. Rajdan, and the Energy and Environment Global organization for giving me this opportunity of being here and sharing my thoughts. Now, this, this conference has been organized in a very interesting manner if you look at it. You see, on one hand you have environment, on the other you have energy. And these two are the most important issues at this point of time, not only for our country, but for the whole world, for the whole planet as such. I mean, we need sustainable systems. We need decarbonization urgently. This is critical. So these issues would be discussed in the following sessions, today and tomorrow. So here I'll be just touching upon the fringe of these issues. So first of all, for example, we have heard from Dr. Garg about hydrogen energy basically. I'm a layman from the hydrogen energy point of view, but I'd like to have a little audacity here as a layman also. See, in our school days, we used to learn that hydrogen is a colorless gas, lighter than air and so on. But in the last 1.5 decades, because of techno-commercial endeavor and competition, and of course the compulsion of having more sustainable energy systems and energy economies for the world, different colors of hydrogen has come up. That's very interesting, and that really picks my brain. We have now not only the colorless hydrogen, but we have green hydrogen, we have blue hydrogen, we have gray hydrogen, we have pink hydrogen, and so on. Well, the best is supposed to be, the highest grade is green hydrogen, when from the same electrolysis process, which we had read in our school days also, this is produced through renewable energy. Then it is green hydrogen. And it is blue if it is from the natural gas, methane reformation. And the condition is, to get the blue badge, is that the carbon dioxide will be captured and stored. Then it gets the honor of becoming blue hydrogen. Otherwise, it will be gray hydrogen. If the carbon dioxide is let off and you don't contain the carbon footprint, then the hydrogen becomes gray hydrogen. Now, then comes the yellow hydrogen. Now, what is that? If the electrolysis is from the great power, then the hydrogen is dubbed yellow hydrogen. There is pink hydrogen also if this is done with nuclear power. But of course, here there is, there's no issue of carbon footprint, but the radioactive waste, that is a problem because its half-life would be maybe from hundreds of years to thousands of years. So its storage and handling of the radioactive waste would be another big issue. And finally, there is a turquoise hydrogen, which of course is under development now. Now, this is when methane is split at high heat by pyrolysis, etc. This is under development. So this actually kind of intrigues me as to how science has brought out 7 different colors of hydrogen, including the colorless one. So हम जिसको हिंदी में कहते हैं ना सतरंगी, तो हाइड्रोजन भी सतरंगी बन गया. Anyway, now let's come to the environmental issues, now which is, again, it's supplemental or complementary to the energy issues. Now we have to have similar kind of sustainability and circularity. I mean, that's the latest term. We have had MDG, then SDG, and now we are talking about circular economy. Now, in the context of waste management, I mean, it's a vast subject, and I'm kind of a student. I would say I'm a student, even at this age of 75, 76. This is a vast subject, and I can talk about it hours. But maybe I have to finish in 10 minutes or 7 minutes. I think so. But anyway, so therefore, I'd like to flag only important issues which, to my mind, are crucial, because I have actually had the opportunity of dabbling with waste management on the field for more than 11 years. I have had the opportunity of even financing, both equity as well as debt financing. So from different angles and different perspectives, I know the waste management. And unfortunately, I'm also, uh, an evidence that this is not working properly. Not only in our country, not only in the developing countries, but even in the industrialized nations. They're also struggling about it. Why is it so? You see, one of the primary reasons is that ours, our economy is based on consumerism. So new things are being uh, developed, invented. So therefore, new materials are coming into the market. We are purchasing it happily. We are happy using it, but each and every of such material is creating a waste. So new streams of waste are coming up. For example, the electronic waste, which we call e-waste, or electrical and electronic waste dubbed together. Now, this is a more recent variety on the horizon. Very minuscule compared to the huge, let's say, the construction and demolition waste, or the normal municipal waste, or even the dry waste. But it has its own toxicity, because it has certain heavy metals. Of course, it has the carrot also. I mean, if you can treat it properly, if you can process it properly, you can extract precious metals like gold. So that incentive is there. But the problem there is it's minuscule. So its collection remains a problem. And there is another problem which normally you overlook, is that gradually, if you compare, let's say, a particular device of 10 years ago and what is happening now, if you compare the amount of gold in that particular chip, you would find that it is reducing, because continuously there is an attempt by the scientists and the technologists to reduce the precious metals so that it becomes more economical and more competitive, cost competitive. So therefore, a waste management company which dabs into the e-waste, their task is that much more difficult. Because suppose for getting 1 gram gold, I mean, this is just a conjecture. Suppose for getting 1 gram gold, they used to process 1 ton of e-waste. Now, at this point of time, they may have to process 2 tons. In future, when it further reduces, they may have to process 5 tons to get the same amount of gold. So therefore, the challenges are increasing. So they have to really brace for it, so that continuously, as there is development of technology and different metals, different materials are produced, different items are produced, at the same time, different kinds of waste are produced, and the waste management companies have to gear up to contain those things through their own processes and so on. Now, why are we failing? I'll just point out a couple of things from my own experience, as well as, I would say, conviction. Now, the most debated topic today is plastics waste management. Now, we talk about shunning or avoiding single-use plastic. We talk about reducing plastic in general. But in my opinion, and I do think so actually, honestly, can we really do so, and how much can we do? I think it's better till we have a better material which can replace plastic, which is more environment friendly, at the same time which is more user friendly, till then we have to make friends with plastics. So what do? We have to find out techno-economically or techno-commercially viable ways to process and recycle the plastic till that time. See, if we look at it, one of the biggest ramification is marine litter. Now, there has been a much publicized patch called the GPGP, or the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. Its area is 1.6 million square kilometers, which is 3 times the area of Spain. See the amount of problem, the dimension of the problem that we are faced with, and this kind of patch on the ocean is closely linked with our lives, very closely, because the marine life is linked to our food chain, is linked to our transportation, and so on. So we have to think about it. What should be done? See, one of the most low-hanging fruits, because I do believe that we have to not only give sermons, but set up examples. So I find that one of the most low-hanging fruits is to convert or use this, let's say, single-use plastics or thin plastic films or even light plastics, use them in blacktop roads. You can melt it with a tar and use it on the blacktop road. See, commercially this is easy, because if you make a project, you would know. The pundits should sit with the net present value, the projection, and so on. And you cannot have a plant which should be there, let's say, 6 months in one city and then shift it to another city and so on. But here, this particular system of using it on the blacktop road, it can be anywhere and everywhere. Just collect it, and wherever the road is being laid or repaired, just tie up with the contractor and get it done. Simple. And the plastic would be so grateful that it would make your roads hydrophobic. That means rainwater will not affect it so easily. And our Central Pollution Control Board had, they had published a guideline in the year 2006, long back. But unfortunately, that is scantily used. It could have been used in each and every city, even in Gram Panchayats, where the roads are smaller and very heavy traffics are not there. So there, this could be easily used, but somehow it has not caught up. So this is one thing I'd like to say. And another word of caution here. See, we also know, and we have standard practices of converting plastic into liquid fuel. But we normally forget that this liquid fuel would be in a crude form. This would have different genre of hydrocarbons. We cannot use it as such, except as furnace oil, where it would be kind of a crude use. But otherwise, if you want it in automobile or any other refined use, you have to fractionate it. And for fractionating, you cannot go for small things. Like you cannot have a 50 kg per day plant and hope to use that liquid fuel in a good purpose or in a refined purpose. So therefore, if this is chosen by any local body, they have to tie up. Maybe 5, 6, 10 cities tie up to have one fractionating plant where this crude oil is fractionated into usable, let's say, diesel. It can be done. But this kind of arrangement has to be done. And we have to look at the techno-commercial aspects. The technical aspects are already there, no issue on that. What problems are, what we are facing is the commercial part of it, the sustainability part of it. So we have to look in that manner. Another important issue is the waste to energy. Now, I'm not going to talk about the more The easier versions of composting, vermicomposting, and so on, which are very well known. Now, in waste to energy, there are certain, debates going on. See, we all know that in the biological route of biomethanation, it can be done at any scale, small, large, anything from, let's say, 500 kg to 500 tons a day. It can be done. It has its, advantages, and environmentally, this is very, very good because you can even get carbon credits. Then the other one is about the thermal route. If we come to the thermal route, then we have to talk about gasification, pyrolysis, or mass burn. Now, the world over, mass burn has become more popular, particularly in the industrialized countries. The reason is that, the cost of getting the components of waste separated becomes more labor intensive, and that becomes more cost intensive. So therefore, they prefer to have a large plant where they burn everything out. Now, the debate is whether that kind of plant is advisable in our condition. Why? Because the air emission which comes out of the stack, that may provide carcinogens, gases like dioxin and furan, which may lead to carcinogenic activities. So what should we do? See, even in our rule, the solid waste management rule of 2016, the kind of standards which has been given there is pretty stringent. If that is followed, there is almost no chance of any emission-related contamination or disease. So, waste to energy could be a solution. Let's be fair about it. But yes, one word of caution. The emission standard has to be respected, and respected in a long-term sustainable manner. Not that because it's expensive, it's very expensive. Suppose its cost, the capital investment is X. Almost 40% of it would go for the emission control. So people think, oh, why spend so much for this? There's only emission. So chalta hai. That won't work. So you have to go the whole way and in a sustainable manner so that your waste to energy plant doesn't harm the society at all or the environment. The other thing which is more important to consider is the bottom ash and the fly ash. Now the bottom ash is also, depending on the material which goes in, it can be up to 30% or even more, so it has to be utilized. Otherwise, if it goes to your landfill, it is again blocked. So proper use of the bottom ash needs to be planned. And how do you do that? The first thing is to test it thoroughly to see whether there are any contaminants, and then plan its use. You can you can use it in your cement plant also. Fly ash can also be toxic, so it has again to be checked, and different kinds of materials can be made if toxic elements are not there. One very important issue is again C&D waste, that is the construction and demolition waste. Unfortunately, we do have the rule, the construction demolition waste rule of 2016, and we have plants actually from 150 tons per day to 2,000 tons per day, which are actually working. The rule is there, the BIS standard, IS 383, that has been modified to accommodate the recycled waste products, recycled C&D waste products. But even then, there are hardly a dozen such plants across the country. It is required. Another point which I'd like to mention is, am I taking too much time? Okay, so I'll wrap up quickly. See, one of the most problematic thing, particularly which I felt here, is our tendering system. I'm coming blandly right there. Okay, so see, tender is the most important document or instrument for a project. Now, if the tender is not prepared properly, if the person or the group who are making that tender, if they don't have the grip on the subject, like I said, that if you are planning a waste to energy plant mass burn, you should also plan for the test and use of the bottom ash and the fly ash. Otherwise, it will fail. So those people need very good training. Otherwise, I mean, training means proper training. Then only proper tenders can be, prepared and executed. And one more thing, I do insist that before a tender is pushed out in the newspaper or media, for a waste management project particularly, land should have been acquired by the local body, whether it's a panchayat or a ULB. And that land, its EIA, that is environmental impact assessment, should have been done. Then only you should publish the tender. And also, not only the land for the project, but you should have a buffer area. So please ensure all that. Another, I think this would be just the second last one, is training. We have been seeing that our training programs are there, numerous of them, but are they effective? This is a question we must ask ourselves. I have been seeing that the training programs from our very respected national institutes, they are facing two problems. Number one, of funding. Number two, of attendance. Now, why is it so? If there is a training program from IT sector for a particular new software or a management one, you see, the fees are in 6 figures, but even then people run. Why? Because they relate it with increase in their salary, promotion. So why can't we do this in the waste management sector also? That should be thought of. My final point is that often we think that the waste material is black gold or green gold or brown gold and so on. In my actual experience, it's not gold at all. The best we can do is, if we look at our health, the health benefits and the environmental benefits which will construe after the proper waste management is achieved. We should target that instead of trying to calculate what would be the financial gain. At best, we can say that there would be an economic benefit, not exactly financial benefit. There would be certain things, because I have seen, for example, the C&D waste, its processing actually gives you return revenue, positive return revenue, but not all. Similarly, waste to energy, if you get a good source of feed material, you can even be positive in your balance sheet. But one has to be very careful. So thank you very much for patiently listening to me. Thank you.